I'm doing well, thank you.
What year did you start flying?
I started flying in I think it was like 1944, but I'm not positive. First airplane I flew was a trainer in Moorhead, Minnesota.
Ah.
And I think they were just like Piper Cubs and things that we flew up there at
great.
Moorhead, Minnesota.
And what was your instructor like?
They were civilian guys.
Okay.
Now, if I get this mixed up, it might have been a different place. But I had a really nice instructor, and we got along well, and that's when we were flying Stearmans.
Okay.
And, but then we had to have check rides by the Army guys. Well, when I first started flying, where was that? It was out in California someplace. Huh. And then I flew out of Arizona, too. Down around Phoenix, we had,
What was the place in Arizona your dad flew out of?
Wickenburg.
Wickenburg.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that where you were?
Nope.
Oh.
No, but I know Wickenburg. Yeah. No, that's not where I was stationed.
Yeah. So when you started flying, that was after the war broke out then? When you were doing training or before the war?
I think the war had already started, yeah.
Yeah. And did you sort of think you'd go into the Pacific theater or the European theater?
I hadn't given it a lot of thought, but I was hoping it wasn't the Pacific. I didn't like that idea. Too much water. But yeah, you just pretty much did what they told you to do, and you didn't have, you didn't make choices.
Did you have any idea what type of aircraft you'd be flying or learning to fly?
No, I really didn't. I didn't know too much about them.
Huh. Did you think you'd be bombers or fighters?
Well, everybody wanted to be a fighter pilot, a P-51 or a P-38, but you did whatever they needed, and they needed bomber pilots. So I ended up being a co-pilot on the B-17.
What was your first multi-engine plane you trained in? Do you remember?
A Cessna Bobcat. Is that what they call those?
Oh, bamboo bomber?
Bamboo bomber.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I got a picture.
Got a picture of it in the in the den here. How was that to fly?
Having very little experience, it was a lot of fun to fly. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I think I told you earlier about the time we were flying instrument approaches in them.
Yeah, why don't you share that? Because you're talking about having the hood on.
Yeah, the pilot was in a hood, and then the co-pilot was supposed to be watching out for traffic and that sort of thing while you're flying the pattern and the approach. And just as I came to the, what do you call it, the null?
Yeah, the final approach point.
Yeah. We got jarred and looked up, and there's 3 big slashes in the top of our plane. Where another student had gone right over us.
Right over the top of you?
He was, and see, neither one of the guys who were supposed to be watching could see because of those damn hoods. But anyway, that was kind of scary.
Oh, man. So how much training did you do before you went overseas?
Well, I went to Phoenix, Arizona to fly the Stearmans. Then I went out to Merced, California to fly, what were those damn things called?
The bamboo bomber?
Yeah, I guess that's it, the bamboo bomber. And then I went to a field down in Arizona. And I can't remember when I got into the B-17s first. Well, everybody wanted to fly a fighter plane, but you got assigned to what they needed. And of course, we flew a lot of practice missions for
Did you drop fake bombs or practice bombs?
We did have some of that, but mostly it was like in formation flying and just getting to be familiar with the airplanes.
Do you recall when you went to Europe for the first time?
When I went flying for the first time?
To Europe.
Oh, to Europe. I only went over there once. And that
once is enough.
Once was enough. I think that was in 1943 or 44. Yeah, Betty and I got married 3 weeks before I flew away. And we'd been high school sweethearts. And every field I wanted her to come get married, she wouldn't. Had to wait till after the war.
So my understanding is you're coming up on your 70th anniversary.
Yep.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So the next thing I know, I'm about ready to ship out, and I come back from a 3-day leave, and there's this message for me that she and her mom and dad are arriving the next day, and we're getting married. So I had a few arrangements to make. So I went to see my commanding officer, and he sent me over to the chaplain, and they got an organist and music and a chaplain. We had a great wedding. Just my crew members and Betty and me.
That's neat. So 70 years coming up on your 70th anniversary. That's pretty amazing.
Well, she's pretty amazing.
So you were about 20 years old then?
Yep. Well, essentially I enlisted. I was at the Colorado State University as a freshman, and these recruiter guys came and said, sign up for the Air Force Reserve and finish your education. Sounds like a good deal to me, so a bunch of us signed up. Well, 3 months later they said, you're it, show up. And so that's the way that went.
Now, where did you guys get married at?
We got married at Langley Field, Virginia.
Okay.
Betty and her mom and dad came all the way out there.
And this is just before you shipped out?
That was shortly before we went overseas, yeah. We had to get a room in a private home upstairs. It was a nice room, big room, bathroom and everything. But then, of course, I got duty flying bombardier practice, and I'd have to get up at 4 or 5 o'clock every morning and take off.
Not great for a honeymoon, huh?
Not much of a honeymoon, and when I'd get home, I'd be too damn tired. But I had a bunch of friends who thought Betty Jane was just fine, and she always had guys taking her out for lunch or dinner and stuff if I wasn't home.
That's neat.
Yeah, she enjoyed it, and they were great guys too.
So before you started flying military, did you have any interest in aviation before then, or were you interested in being a pilot then?
I don't recall that I had any real thoughts about that. Yeah, I was going to be a forest ranger. I was taking forestry and wildlife management.
Oh. And once you learned to fly an airplane, did you enjoy it?
Oh yeah, flying was a great fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, we started out in, what did I say, Cubs up there in Moorhead, Minnesota.
Right. And then Stearman's.
And then Stearman's down in Arizona. Yeah, I love flying those old Stearman's. Except I had a bad experience with a Army check rider. It didn't start out well. The student would be in the back seat, the check rider would be in the front seat in the Stearman. So we get in the airplane, and we sit there, and nothing happens. And pretty soon, this guy whirls around and throws the logbook right in my face. Well, that's kind of upsetting. So from there on, I was afraid I was not going to make it. I was afraid I was going to get worked out by this guy.
Yeah.
But I did all the maneuvers he asked, but I was still pretty worried. So when I got back to the base, we had civilian guys instructing us. And Pop Barber was my instructor, and he was just a great old guy. He was probably all of 45 or something.
Fred, was your dad a military or was he a civilian instructor?
It was military.
Military, okay, yeah.
And old Pop Barber, he just said, don't worry, everything's okay. And so we just got back on track there, no trouble.
Can you share, when you got over to Europe, what was your first assignment you had in terms of missions?
You know, flying over there was a big deal.
Yeah, yeah.
We flew up to Bangor, Maine, took off from Bangor, Maine, flew to, was it Greenland or Iceland? Anyway, this was a big air base where he landed over there. Yeah. And they took the planes. We had a brand new Model Gs. And they took those planes, and I don't know where they flew them off to, and we took a train to to our new bases.
Tell us a little bit of what this document is I'm holding right here.
Well, this document is called Moeller's Mahler's Lucky Bastards Certificate. Colonel Moeller was the chief of our group, was the head officer of our group. He was a great guy, and so that's what that certificate is. You got a...
Does it list the individual missions then?
yeah, it lists the missions.
So this says 23 missions, no, 35 missions.
35.
35. Was there any one mission that stands out in your mind or memory?
Oh, yeah. There were several. Merceburg was one horrible place, and heavily armored, defended.
Now, was that in Germany or?
Yeah.
In Germany.
Yeah.
Nuremberg.
Well, Berlin was like hell too, boy. They were protecting Berlin.
A lot of flak.
A lot of flak. A lot of enemy fighters.
And was there a mission that stands out in your mind where you had some question of what the outcome was going to be?
There was one, but I can't remember exactly what the mission was, but we were shot up, badly shot up, and only just limping along on, I think we had 2 good engines, and one that was just barely running.
Wow.
But we made it across the channel, and we landed in a place, God, I'm sorry, I can't remember. But I know we were stuck there for about 2 weeks.
About what altitude did you do these missions at?
Around 30,000 feet, most of them. Yeah.
On oxygen, I assume.
Oxygen mask, God, those things were horrible.
Must have been colder than hell.
It was. Way below freezing. We had these great big fur-lined jackets and boots, and you could hardly move around when you got in them.
Wow. 35,000 feet?
Pretty much.
Wow. And were they using the Norden bomb sight then?
Yep.
Or?
Norden bomb site, yeah.
And how much of a bomb load did you carry?
We carried a lot of different kinds of bombs, some great big gigantic ones, which we'd only maybe carry half a dozen.
500 pounders?
500 pounders or something like that.
Yeah.
It just depended on the mission and what they wanted to accomplish, the bombs we would carry, yeah.
How many planes on a mission typically?
36. Oh, on the total?
Yeah, total B-17s on a mission.
36 to a group, and there were sometimes, I can't tell you.
Yeah.
There were airplanes as far as you could see,
Wow.
in front of you and in back of you.
Did you ever take any pictures during the flights?
No, I was too busy flying the airplane to take any pictures.
It wasn't a sightseeing trip. So, was 2 engines the least number of engines you landed with, turning and burning?
I think so.
Yeah.
There might have been one trip when we. No, I think we had 2 good engines
Oh, why?
most every landing.
Oh.
But we didn't always know if the landing gear was going to hold up or not, or
Did you?
if it would go down. Sometimes you had trouble getting it down if you had damage in that
Did
area.
you generally have a fighter escort?
We generally had a fighter escort, but it was really weird. Of course, the P-51s were the ones we really loved. And I remember one special mission where we were going in, and I know this is going to be hell, but there was no fighters around there. Oh, I know. Here's the story. We had to abandon the group because we were shot up, and we only had about 1.5 or 2 engines, so we couldn't keep altitude. So we were dropping out of formation and heading back towards England. And of course, we were sitting ducks. That's what the German fighters loved, is one lone old airplane out. So we were calling on the radio for our little friends. We kept calling them, And pretty soon this voice came, will you guys shut up? We're right here above you and we're not leaving. So there were about 4 P-51s up there, kind of guarding us, taking us home.
Did you stay in touch with any of your crew members after the war?
Not really.
Yeah.
They're all way back east someplace, most of them. And well, I talked to them on the phone a time or two, and then it just died out.
And did you generally fly with the same crew?
Yeah, you had the same crew
Yeah.
most of the time. Of course, you had substitutes if a guy was sick or injured or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can remember Jenkins was the tail gunner. Murphy was the radio operator. Jim Henry was the other pilot. I could remember a couple more if I looked at this airplane. But, you know, I never did keep in touch with those guys. I kept in touch with Jim Henry for a little while, but then it just got...
Who's the guy in the ball turret? Tell that story.
Angelo Sico.
Tell that story that you told us a little earlier.
Angelo Sico was a little Italian guy, and he was, like a lot of Italians, he was very excitable. And so we had been in some pretty darn heavy flak, and Angelo started calling us to get him out of the ball turret gunner, that he had been badly hit, that he was bleeding. And well, sometimes those ball turrets, if they'd been damaged, would be hard to get swung around so you could get the guy out. So we were sure old Angelo was dying, and the other crew guys, side gunners, were doing everything they could to get that turret around so they could get him out. When they pulled him out, they were expecting blood and guts all over it. Well, he had 2 big blisters on his backside. Not anything very serious.
So to get out of the ball turret, did you go up through the top, or was there a hatch on the bottom?
You'd have to go up through the top into the
plane?
Into the plane, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, that must have been, if you ever look at a B-17 ball turret, I don't think I fit in there.
Yeah, they picked little guys, little tough guys that could squirm around in there. And what an unpleasant place to be when you're getting shot at.
Oh.
You're sitting there, you're seeing everything.
Yeah.
You feel like you're a duck.
You know, there's a Hollywood movie called The Memphis Belle where they depict this, and a guy being stuck down in there and that kind of thing. But in that movie, they portrayed that it was only 25 missions required before the crew got to be sent home.
That's true. Early on,
35.
early on, I think maybe they only required 20, and then it was up to 25, and then it was up to 30. By the time I got over there, it was up to 35 missions.
Oh, wow.
It was like, good. Well, in fact, I think they bumped it up to 35 after I was already over there.
And did you anticipate the outcome of the war, or how long did you think that was going to go on?
We didn't have any idea. We didn't think that far ahead. We just were thinking about the next day.
Yeah.
I think, well, yeah, we thought about it, but...
Well, listen, let's take a walk in your den here and see what we have to look at here.
Well, there's not much.
So tell us a little bit about this B-17 here, Don.
Well, I think it's a B-17G, 4 motors. They were good flying airplanes. No, these are all service medals. These are the air medals with bars on them to indicate totals up to 35 missions. This is off of a yoke of an old B-17.
Cool.
And here's some old rusty wings, but they're sterling silver. And this is the first private airplane I owned.
Huh.
What is this? This is some kind of a temporary airman certificate. Where's the date on that thing? Oh, 85, 12-12-85.
Yeah.
And this is called the diploma from my bomb group, the 390th. It said, this is to certify that D.R. Craddock, a member of Mollers Bombing College, has successfully completed his tour of operations against Hitler's hotshots and is now eligible to return to God's country, the lucky bastard.
So I noticed the date starts there at September of 44, and you completed that in November of 45. So
Right, yeah.
just about a year and 2 months or so that
Yeah.
you were over there.
Seemed like longer than that.
What happened when you got back?
Well, let's see. I came back on the. I flew an airplane. I flew a B-17 over. On the way back, I came on the Ile-de-France, a big converted luxury liner.
Who this could be?
That's me,
About
20 years old.
20 years old.
Yeah,
And over here, this is your crew?
yeah. Some of our guys there, Murphy and Jenkins and Seco, those guys I don't think were even 20 years old. I was a co-pilot. This was my pilot. I can't think of his name. He was a good pilot, and he was a lousy leader. His main interest was women and alcohol.
There you go.
So instead of hanging out with the crew when we had time off, he was gone hunting up some woman. Of course, Betty and I had gotten married before we went over, so I wasn't too interested in that sort of stuff.
And then here's you and Betty.
Yep, there's me and Betty in the Bonanza, or Debonair.
Yeah, debonair, that's the right word.
Betty is a consummate co-pilot. She loved navigation. She still does.
Yeah.
So when we took long flights, she always had it all planned out. And
Now, did she become a pilot or just?
she
became
took a lot of pilot's lessons, and she was doing really well. And she went with an instructor to get her license, and she did something a little wrong. I don't know what it was. And the instructor said, well, don't you ever watch what your husband's doing? And she said, that's it, let's go back. She wouldn't have any more to do with that guy.
And then after the war, you got involved in the fisheries?
Yep, I went back to college, and then I was a fisheries research biologist for Bureau of Commercial Fisheries
Uh-huh.
and NOAA. Those are a couple of the research boats I was on. That's the George B. Kellis. You know, that's up in the Aleutians.
So you've sold your Bonanza now, huh?
Yep.
Yep. How many years did you fly that?
I think it was almost 20 years.
Yeah. What was your biggest trip you took on it?
We didn't fly long distances, but like Tucson, Arizona. About as far as I remember flying.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice airplane.
Oh, it was a beauty.
And is this the Stearman like you trained in over here?
Yeah. Yep, that's exactly like it.
That's what you're...
That's why I thought I was going to get washed out.
The hat here?
This is a 50 mission cap. You know, the first thing you do when you get in the Air Force, you take this wire out of here
Yeah.
because you got it on. Heck, it doesn't fit me anymore. I must have got a bigger head, or it shrunk. I think it's got. Anyway, if you had the wire in, you couldn't get your headset on properly. So you took the wire out first, and anyway, it's a lot cooler. Not a,
Looks pretty good still today.
to have a wire in there.
That's neat. Well, Don, thanks for talking to us today.
Well, thanks for coming. I enjoyed talking to you guys.
It's fun.